Thank you so
Amazing.
much for doing this. I'm going to say good morning, even though it's nighttime here in New York. Is it 8, 9 a.m. right now?
Yeah, it's 9 a.m.
Are you normally a morning person? You're good with mornings?
Yeah, yeah. I'm rubbish after about like 8 p.m.
Ah, the flip side
Which
here.
makes touring tricky, but I seem to just like morph into a different version of myself when I'm on tour. But then other than that, yeah.
I can imagine. So my first exposure to you was complicated, but when I go through your bio, you've been doing this since you were like 14, 15?
Yeah.
When did you write your first song compared to having your first release out when you were 14, 15?
You know what? I actually wrote my first song when I was 11. When I was about 14, I started making little like demo CDs and sort of busking and performing in little cafes and stuff. But I do remember being 11 and I think I just got bored one day. I was sort of like sick of singing my favorite songs. So I just thought I'd make one up myself.
Yeah.
And it was quite funny too, because I remember my brother had a friend over for a sleepover and like ran into their room and I was like singing this song to them. I think they probably thought I was the most annoying little sister, but it was the beginning of a beautiful journey.
Of course, when you were busking, was it you and guitar or you and keyboard?
Guitar, yeah. So I started playing guitar when I was about 12. I actually owe a lot to my brother because he picked up guitar a lot sooner than I did, and I probably wouldn't have even thought that I had an interest in it if it weren't for him,
Sure.
having it around the house and stuff. But yeah, I started playing acoustic when I was 12 or so, and then was pretty rubbish at it for a while, but got there. And then by the age 13, 14, I was out there just at singer-songwriter nights and busking and really just hustling.
Hustling, which has paid off. Now, for me, if you say, Darren, why did you start playing guitar? For me, it started off with metal. And then why did you start playing bass? It was Green Day. In your case, why did you pick up a guitar in the first place?
Joni Mitchell, if
Wow.
we're gonna go with like a musical answer. Yeah, it was probably around that time that I was singing. I remember a lot of people saying to me, "Oh, you should cover Big Yellow Taxi." I don't know why. There's just like I had a few people at the same time say that. Maybe because they were all like my parents' friends, and there was just like their generation's song. And so I had never even heard the song, but my dad taught me to play it on guitar without me having heard the record. So I would play it, yeah, just from hearing the song from my dad playing it, and probably didn't actually listen to the recording for I don't know, a year or something. And then I was like, oh wow, this is that song. But yeah, no, Joni's been a huge influence for me my whole life.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
that's so great to hear that that's what your gateway into music was and not say, well, I don't want to badmouth anyone, but usually people say, oh, if you're my age, you'd be like, oh, Vanilla Ice or CNC Music Factory. And then you go a couple of years ahead and they go, well, it was Limp Bizkit or something like that. That's why I
Mm.
picked up the guitar. You start off with all the good influences. So I take it your parents were big music people?
My dad is, yeah. He's the reason why I love a lot of artists like Bruce Springsteen. I owe to my dad. Who else? Carole King, Neil Young, Crosby,
Wow.
Stills, Nash and Young.
Not embarrassing on any level. Wow.
No, definitely not. Classics, legends.
Yeah. So you take a song like Complicated, which no one's ever going to forget that the first time they hear it. It's just one of those choruses that's unforgettable and stands out. Was the chorus written first?
No, it was one of those really naturally progressing songwriting moments where it just flowed. It just came out of my mouth. I remember I still have the voice memo actually of when I came up with that chorus, and we had been sitting in the room not for very long. We'd already had the verse and the pre-chorus down, and yeah, it was just super natural. There was no, I don't want to say no effort because we really worked at the song, like we really wanted it to be perfect. but it wasn't challenging. It was a really fun thing to just be like, far out, I love this so much. Let's just not leave the studio, not go and get food. Let's just get it right.
Did you write other songs in that same session or that same day at least?
No, but that week was very productive and fruitful for me. I was in Stockholm, and I don't know, I find Stockholm incredibly inspiring. And I was working with all sorts of people that week. It was like a different person every day, that sort of week. So yeah, it's weird. I was reflecting on that week a few days ago, just like thinking about that time. And I was like, that's one of my favorite memories ever, that week, just being in Stockholm and like having so much energy. Like finally, I felt like I hadn't had energy in so long. And songwriting, I had writer's block, and I was dealing with like imposter syndrome, self-doubt and all that sort of stuff. And then sort of landed there and was just like, oh wow, okay, I'm just getting swept up in all this amazing energy here. And people in Sweden really love writing pop music in such, like, they have no front whatsoever. It's all just like pure passion. I think it's just something in the water there. Like you just hear it all the way back to ABBA and stuff. Like they just love writing perfectly crafted pop songs.
Yeah, it started with ABBA, my guess. And then, of course, Max Martin came up with all those hits for Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Of course, we had his second wave of stuff with Kelly Clarkson and all that. But you're writing for this album, and I believe you wrote that song in 2019, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Was it all around the world that they put you to write, or is it just you're going to Sweden and then you're coming home?
No, it was everywhere. I spent so much of last year just on the road, sort of going between London, Sweden, LA. I went to New York for a bit, constantly just ping-ponging around. And it's tough doing that.
Yes.
Because you're essentially just trialing so many things that don't work. That's what you're doing. You're trialing things that don't work, and then you find what does work. And that's why I went back to Stockholm so many times last year, because I found my people there. And this year it's been challenging not being able to go there, but I've been, mastering the Zoom sessions and with my Stockholm pals. It's been pretty good.
And is Complicated part of an album that's coming out, an EP, or is it just a standalone single before the album?
I haven't really had a conversation with my team about an album yet. I think if I were to put an album together, it would be on it for sure. But at the moment, I'm just focusing on singles and sort of building demand towards an album next year. I haven't written an album. I have enough songs for an album, but in my head, it's not. I'm like, this isn't an album. And I don't want to write an album over Zoom either. So it's like, I'm sort of just biding my time, being as creative as possible as I can at home, and letting like Complicated do what it's doing, which is pretty amazing given COVID. Like it's sort of surpassed all my expectations in that way. Like down here in Australia, it's just like I said, it was written last year, but it's just taken on such a new meaning this year, and everyone's, I think, connecting with it because it's just oddly I don't know, some weird cathartic experience for people listening to those lyrics.
Sure. And it going to number one on Triple J, as somebody who always read music charts, I know what Triple J is. It's kind of a unique thing because it's a pop song, but Triple J represents coolness. So it's weird in a way that it's a pop song, an alternative format embraces it. Did you have any pressure from the label at the beginning to get rid of the expletive in the chorus or anything like that?
No, I think everyone was always pretty firm on that is just such a big part of the identity of the song and the tone. Like Triple J thankfully plays the explicit version, but
is there a better term than explicit? That sounds like a grandpa saying that, explicit. I'm so offended by that word. I've never heard it before. Oh no.
Do you know what's funny though? Is like Triple J, obviously, they don't censor songs, but they do put language warnings in front. And I only learnt recently that they haven't been putting a language warning in front of that song. So like I have, you know, I know some people who work at Triple J, and I heard through them, they're like, yeah, we get so many annoyed texts every time we play it, because for some reason people just get annoyed that they haven't been warned that there's a swear word. I'm just like, what? Anyway, I get it. I get it if there's like kids in the car or something, but I find it odd that they wouldn't put the language warning. I'm like, is it because I'm a girl? Like, I don't know. It's like some different standard because I'm not like a rap artist or something. They're like, oh.
It sounds sweet when you say it. That's the bottom
Yeah.
line. I love, pulling the curtain back. The pitch materials say that you knew her. This is life pre-complicated and life post-complicated. So get to know her post-complicated. This song similar to other stuff that you've written, or is this just a totally standalone track and we've not seen the best of you yet?
I wouldn't say it's a matter of what's the best of me, but it definitely signified a new direction with my writing. My next single I just finished up is very similarly like vocals really dry up front. It's guitar based. There's not really anything hiding those lyrics, and it's a similar tone in that like Complicated for me was a really new direction for me lyrically, and lyrics are my everything. Like I really like I can't write a song if I'm not believing the words. And Complicated came from this place of almost like me just like taking accountability for things I was feeling. It's really direct and like it's not really about pointing the blame at anything or offering any sort of like coffee table book philosophy. It's just sitting in the stuff that I'm feeling and being accountable for my emotions. And my next single is a similar perspective. It's like it's about a relationship, but it's similarly like my perspective, and not I'm not like pointing a blame at anyone. I'm just like dissecting why I'm acting like a complete idiot.
You're grown up before our very own eyes. I think that's one of the tough parts when you start really young at something and people could see how you started out and you kind of matured in the public eye, even if you were an indie artist. But I'm sure you're still proud of your first few EPs.
Yeah, totally. I've gone through so many different like monikers at this point. Like started off as my name, Hannah Karydas. And then that was when I was just busking and making stuff at home. And then when I started releasing music professionally, I had a project called Eves the Behavior, which was super indie, alternative, really dark, like heavy synths and stuff. And then took a bit of a break, not a break really, but it was more just, I moved to London. I just kind of rediscovered my love of pop music. And that's when I kind of changed to Eves Karydas. So it's all been part of the journey. So yeah, I'm kind of just like so proud of myself for like sticking it out. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, if you could give some advice to your younger self, what would it be? And I was like, everyone always gives advice like in like don't do this or don't do that, but I kind of just want to tell my younger self like, fuck yeah, I'm so proud of you for like just sticking with it, because look how far you've come. It's awesome.
Hey, some of the greatest artists of the last 25 years were kid stars who had to grow up publicly, like say Justin Timberlake or something like that. So
yeah,
not such a bad thing. You just spoiled what was going to be my closing question, which was any last words for the kids. So instead, I'm going to ask you two quick questions, totally unrelated. And the first one is,
okay.
As a fan, what is the last concert that you went to before COVID kicked in?
So I was playing a festival circuit that had like a bunch of different cities, all the same lineup went everywhere. And some of my friends were on the lineup as well. So I just happened to be standing there watching them. They're a band called Mansionair, and they're from Australia. There's just some guys from Sydney I know from way back. And that was the last set I saw. it was after my set, so then I went back to the hotel, and in my head I didn't think anything of it. I was just like,
Right.
oh yeah, I'm gonna go back and chill now. Like 3 days later, lockdown.
Oh, so that was March. Wow. Or
It
is it?
was, I think that was the 1st of March. Yeah.
There you go. And then the last
Yeah.
question, you, like everybody else, have been home a lot more than any other point in your life. What's your best TV recommendation for somebody who's looking for a new show to watch?
Okay, so I discovered this show called Search Party, which is based in New York, and it's, the young girl in Arrested Development. What
Maybe.
was it? Maybe. Yeah, it's her. So she's the lead actress in this show, and it's just a bunch of millennials. Like, it's so funny. It's one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. And so anyway, it's on to its like 3rd season or something, 3rd or 4th season. But I only just discovered it. Very funny. I highly recommend.
Cool. Search Party with Aaliyah Shawkat will be on my to watch list. Well, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to that next single, and looking
That's
forward to
okay.
eventually getting over to New York to play live when this all ends. So just
I know.
keep up the
Yeah.
greatness.
Thanks so much for the chat.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye.
Paltrocast.